So right now it's my pleasure to introduce someone who certainly in this audience or almost any audience these days requires no introduction, and that is Michael Jones, the Chief Technologist for Google Earth. And Michael has played a number of leading roles in other companies before joining Google, including in particular SGI. Of course, Michael is one of the founders of Keyhole, the company that Google acquired, and they acquired Michael in the process. And I'm sure he's going to provide some interesting and thought-provoking discussion this morning. So, Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Ron. So, good morning, everybody. The SGI link is that every company I work for does not, fail and stumble. Even though that one did so visibly. So, we had a pretty good week of talks, and it started out great with Vint Cerf and Jack Dangerman. So I'm not going to try to, I'm not the same kind of guy. So, but I do want to kind of review both what they talked about a little bit and what we talked about the rest of the week in some of the technical sessions, and also take a moment to reflect on basically the changes that have happened this last year, some interesting events that have happened, and what that maybe holds for the next year. Not so much for the infinite future, which I think is very bright as an optimist, but I mean for like things we can do this month to make next month better, or things we can do the next few months to make next December better, that kind of thing. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to pop back and forth here with the computer. I've seen a lot of PowerPoint type presentations this week, so I'm going to try to keep that to an absolute minimum since it's breakfast time. And so the minimum I thought would be 0, basically. So I'm not going to show you any slides today, but I am going to show you some text and kind of talk through some things. So I'm going to try to see if I can get my computer positioned so that I can actually talk and play at the same time. So this is Google Earth, and I presume you've seen it. Okay, so what I find interesting about it is that it's compelling to people who have absolutely no interest in anything grown up about cartography, mapping, geography. Like I've been in taxi cabs in Dehradun, which is 5-hour taxi ride from New Delhi, right? We're in a place where everybody looked like they just came out of a coal mine, and people talked to me about Google Earth, right? It's fabulous, and what they liked, it wasn't really so much the Google part of Google Earth, which, but they liked that they could see their house. That's what they liked, because it was about them. And I've done a lot of thinking over the last year about what it means to have a GeoWeb. What is a GeoWeb? We have kind of been timid about that topic here all week long. What is one? But there's something interesting about the web, and I'm going to talk about that for a moment. Don't look at the screen anymore. Just talk to you. And I got to kind of turn back and forth like a tennis, right? Because we've got kind of a long room. But what's interesting about the web, what makes the web a web, is not the internet. Okay? If you had a locally cached set of web documents and you could browse through them, that would still be a web, right? What makes the web a web is that there are multiple documents, each of which is interlinked. And what makes it interesting is they're linked in a pattern. That is, the person who made the link from document A to document B, like if it said, for more information, click here. When you click there, it goes to something relevant for more information, right? There's a intelligent, friendly pattern to that link. If it was a stupid, random pattern, it'd still be a web, but it would be kind of like a randomly oriented phone book. It'd all be in there, but it would be of no use, right? So what's useful in the web is the semantic utility of the interlinks between the documents. That's what makes the web powerful. Now, the good news about the internet is that it makes that powerful web global, essentially free, and sort of infinite in terms of leveraging your capability to express yourself. So that's a good part of the web. The internet part's a very important part, but the web part is the connected part and the semantic meaning of links. Does that make sense? A nod or, I don't know, boo or something. You laugh, okay? So it's comical, even if it's not logical. So my thought was, well, a GeoWeb, you could look at it as like it's something about geo or something about web. I think what it is about the linking, about the linkage between geodata. So you can imagine if I go to a first web page, say a Google search result, and it says, here's a little snippet, and I said, that looks pretty good. I would click, and I'd go to the real web page. And I said, that's interesting. I'll go to the further, so I might go on some little tour to get what I really want. Google didn't really know what I wanted. It just kind of could say, plastics. It could kind of send me in the right direction, but I had to click a couple times to find what I really wanted, right? So that doesn't really happen with a shapefile. It's there. Whether its styling is separate or included is not the point. The point is that it's what it is. Here I am, I'm the sewer line, and then I'm just here. And so there's no who could fix me. There's metadata, and the craving for metadata, I think, is the GIS profession's organic understanding that this semantic linking to something else is what makes the first thing valuable. Where did it come from? Provenance data. What can I do about it? How accurate is it? All these kinds of issues. It's the linkage that's important. So metadata is important. There's another issue, which is how would you find that data? So imagine, if you can remember it that far back, not just before Google and before Yahoo search, but all the way back to before Alta Vista. Okay, Digital Equipment Corporation had a kind of wild engineer named Louis Monnier, who now works at Google, because DEC went away, as did their desire to do the most important possible financial thing they could have done. But he said, this web thing's pretty cool. We should write a program to go look at everything, and then we should index that. I was an avid, ardent lover of Alta Vista, and before Alta Vista, then there were all these kind of arcane ways to find good stuff. Yahoo had a good idea. The whole business of Yahoo at that time was they had a legion of serfs in locked-in rooms who were trying to build a big directory every day of what good websites were about chess or about recipes. Do you remember that? Does anybody remember that? Okay, so that's not a bad thing. That's actually pretty good. It's just that there's more stuff than there are curators. Therefore, it's an incomplete index. It's a good index. It didn't scale too well. So when Alta Vista started making automatic crawling of data, logical indexing, so you could type in a keyword and find the right data, they did a huge, Louis and his friends did an incredible benefit to the web. It stopped being, you knew there was good stuff if only you knew where it was, and started being, and I can find it right now. You have a kind of a confidence. I bet I could find that. It wasn't the whole web, it wasn't everything, but it was. You could feel confident. You could find what you wanted. So I would say it's pretty much lacking in the geospatial field. So there's a multi-decade, maybe even multi-eon topic about the spatial data infrastructures. That would be good if they all talk together, good if you could find things. Well, I think that's sort of the same organic understanding that not only is it good to have data and metadata, it's good to actually find the data based on the metadata, right? That's obvious. And there are people that have data that's interesting that you don't know. So you need some kind of first date mechanism. How would I find somebody who I might like? There's some data I might like. And so that has been lacking too. And I'm glad to see Inspire and other sort of GIS efforts to connect things together in Europe. And I see some efforts at Geospatial One Stop as an attempt, historical attempt in the United States. But anyway, these kinds of issues are GIS industry efforts to build some kind of a web of data. That data is smart, that the metadata makes the data more valuable, that you can search things. So that's the sort of milieu in which things like Google Maps and Google Earth came on the scene. And there was this pent-up need by the experts. There was a complete oblivion by normal people, and all of a sudden you could get an easy map. And so what's happened in the last year is there's been just an extraordinary, well, the first year, I guess, about 2 years now. So the first year it was extraordinary use. Just people just kind of took a liking to it and really got engaged in ways that as engineers we might have dreamed of, but in all honesty we didn't maybe even deserve. It was more successful than we realized. Selling water in the desert, it's a great business, And it isn't really the water, right? It's the desert. And there was this desert of available information. People wanted to know where things were. And they could go by a Remy map, but they really couldn't do for place or where what they could do for what. If you go on Google search and you just type in what you want to know, you probably think you'd find it. But if you wanted to know, what's the weather, what's the temperature at the top at Whistler right now, you might find a way to find that. If you wanted to know what it looks like at the Great Pyramid right now of Cheops, well, how would you find that if it wasn't for things like Google Earth and Google Maps, Microsoft Virtual Earth, and so forth? So